Hello, guys. Welcome to the Powerbomb Project. My name is Berman with my two co-hosts,
Chris?
And Daniel,
and we are reviewing NXT No Mercy 2023. For a general thing, I really liked the pay-per-view. This was very fun. They did a great job on NXT. There's few tiny parts that I was not happy with, and it was just maybe the ending of the matches, or just some weird things that happened in the match that didn't make no sense. But I think it was very fun. I did love this paper. Was very good for NXT, trying to grow back into the glory days of gold, black and gold. So, what do you think, guys?
It was overall solid. There were some like iffy decisions, but I'll get to it. It's just for like one match for the. Actually, I'm not gonna say. I'll just wait. But when we get there, we'll get there. And you, Daniel?
yeah, I thought this was an overall yet another pretty good NXT show. I feel like I come to these reviews and it's basically like a broken record where I have to say like, oh yeah, this was a pretty good show. But yeah, this yet again was a pretty good show from NXT. And yeah, like I get that a lot of people miss the black and gold days. I 100% understand that. But if you're still being bitter towards the brand right now, you're missing out. That's all I have to tell you. You're missing out.
Yeah, and that is the truth. You're missing out on some good fun matches. So, it's first match: Braun Breaker versus Baron Corbin, and I would call Braun Breaker my nickname, the bum ass Braun. I don't like him. Everyone knows me. That I know I hate Braun way too much. So I was way too happy to see this match, and I was rooting for Baron Corbin for a fucking long time. And I love Baron Corbin. He's fun as hell to me. And NXT, I feels like he fits NXT pretty well. And this was a fun match. It was a little slow, and the end with just Robert Stone coming to interfere, which because Von Breaker attacked um, Von Wagner. He wanted to interfere to kind of make a rivalry between those two, which I don't know why, but hell, I don't really care that much. At least they did. It was interesting how they did that, and Baron Corbin won. Thank God. I don't want to see Braun Breaker win whatsoever. So I'm happy with Baron Corbin winning. It's fun. I would give this a 6.5. It was an okay match. It was just weird how they did why the Robert Stone came out.
And I think for me personally, I'm in agreement with you, Berman. It's just the fact that I felt like I understand Barry Corbin. He's been around for like a long, long time. But come on, you telling me Corbin's really gonna beat Braun Breaker over some like interference? I'm not too familiar with NXT, but one of his opponents he's feuding with, what's his name?
So yeah,
Von
Robert
Wagner.
Stone
Yeah,
is
because
basically
that's
like the manager of Von Wagner, and he like basically beat the shit out of Von Wagner a few weeks ago, and yeah, he's been beefing with them basically.
yeah, but for some guy who was booked so strong in the beginning when he's a heel and now he's kind of just used as a stepping stone, like what they're doing with Bork. But with Bork, it's more understandable since he's just part time, so it's fine. But Braun Breaker is essentially going to the main roster soon. I know he doesn't have much time in the NXT, but I don't think you got to bury him like that. I mean, you can still make him somewhat strong because he already lost like two of his past matches in the pay per views so far. But it was decent. I'll give it a 6. It was fun.
I'm agreeing with Chris here. I don't really see the point in having them have Braun Breaker just constantly lose over and over again on his way up to the main roster. And the reason why I say that is because, yeah, I understand like using the momentum he's had and putting over guys like Carmelo and Ilya. That's perfectly understandable and fine, you know? But then when it comes to dudes like Baron Corbin, it's like, what are we even doing here? Like, be it like Baron Corbin fan or not, and I'm talking to all the Baron Corbin fans out there. Baron Corbin fan or not, you know damn well this guy is not going to be a future world champion. He's basically peaked already, and his peak wasn't even that big. So that's why he has so many gimmick changes. He never really made it. He had a shitty king gimmick. He had a shitty constable gimmick. He had all these horrible gimmicks over time, and barely anyone cares about the dude anymore. And I don't get why we have to try over and over and over again with this dude. I mean, here's the thing. I respect Corbin. I understand that he has talents. But at the end of the day, the dude is nothing more than a mid-carder for the company. And Braun, that's a future world champion right there. That's someone the company values very highly and is going to future a lot in the future. So for them to just kind of have him lose the Baron here, the long-term sense of it just, yeah, it doesn't make sense. And when you already made him look like such a monster with destroying Vaughn a few weeks ago, they're going to follow that up with a loss to Baron Corbin here. It's very inconsistent and it doesn't make sense. But the match itself was decent. They did some interesting things, like going to the crowd before the match began and other stuff. They had a nice little house fight, nice little table spot. But it was nothing special. And again, I feel like it was the wrong call. So I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10.
I just wish my personal opinion. It would be my worst nightmare to see Braun Breaker win a world title. Perfectly honest, I hate you. I don't want him to even see it. I'm okay with him just getting blasted all to hell, all the way down to rock bottom on NXT. If he goes to main roster, cool. If he reinvents himself, perfect. If he does that crap, I don't know if I'm even going to be happy with him. Still, I just don't like him. So, even if I just want to say that because that's my personal opinion with Braun Breaker in general. But let's move on to the next match, which is the North American Championship match with a special guest, Dragon Lee. That is Dominic Mysterio, the champion, versus Trick Williams. Now, this was very interesting because everyone was rooting for Trick Williams. Everyone wanted to see Dominic lose. And it shows very fun things. The weird thing with Dragon Lee being this, and Booker T making very funny uh, on being very funny on commentary. He is way too funny. Saying like one part of the match where Dominic wanted to super kick Trick, but hit Dragon Lee, and freaking Booker said that why is he in the middle of the road? Why is he just standing there? And just it was very funny. And then another referee came out, and it was very weird, but it had a lot of interesting. It was very funny, and to me, it was a good thing too how they showed this that Dominic cannot win without Rhea Ripley, if that's pretty much the match is showing. But it was very fun. The end of the match went to Trick Williams for the NXT Championship. So his first singles title. And the bad thing is, I'm going to say this after my two co-hosts talk about this match. What happened at on NXT last Tuesday? What happened? But to me, this match was fun. It was chaotic, kind of a little bit chaotic too. So I'm gonna give this a 7 for me.
And again, it was very enjoyable just for the fact that Dominic Mysterio and Trick Williams have such good chemistry with each other. Because obviously, Dom is just doing his heelish thing, and Booker T he's always a fan favorite just for these kind of matchups. But it wasn't like the best Mysterio match. I think he like peaked in the Great American Bash, and I still stand by this to this day. But it was an overall fun match. I just didn't really care for the referee Dragon Lee because maybe I'm just being biased here, but he wasn't doing his job correctly and cost my boy that title. Even though there was multiple times where he was going for the 1, 2, 3, and then Dragon Lee just wasn't doing his job correctly, and you could sue me for that because he's doing it way too damn slow, and that's bullshit. And he only lost because of that technicality, and I stand by Booker T. So that's a 7.
Talk about a match that has aged very poorly in a matter of only a few days. Jesus. We'll get to why after, as Berman said, but this is what I'll say. I thought it was a good match. Just simple, solid stuff. Dom and Trick did their thing. And at the time, watching it live, I was happy with them putting the belt on Trick. If I knew what was going to happen the following week, I would have preferred them to never put the belt on him in the first place. But yeah, life happens. Overall, I could say congrats, but there would really be no point. I'm sorry that this happened to you, Trick. I'm going to give this match a 7 out of 10, though.
Yeah, and now let's discuss what happened last Tuesday. So the main thing was Dominic got a rematch for Trick against Trick Williams for his title, for his North American Championship. And but the exception is that Dominic had all the Judgment Day on his side. And surprise, surprise, what freaking happened was a brutal travesty for Trick Williams, but pretty much a big celebration for Judgment Day. Dominic Mysterio wins the North American Championship again by interference from the Judgment Day. No freaking duh. That always happens. And now the new champion is Dominic Mysterio. So really very bad timing for Trick Williams and very the shortest North American reign in history. What do you guys think about this?
Listen, I knew Dominic was gonna get the belt eventually, but I didn't think it would be that soon because that's kind of sad for Trick Williams. Because I was rooting for him in the beginning for a little bit because I was gonna see what they're gonna do eventually with him and Camelo. But I guess it's not gonna really do anything, and Camelo's just be like, "Oh, my friend's a loser. He lost the belt in 3 days. Who cares?" So we're probably not even gonna get that trios match, but whatever. That sucks though.
I will actually say this. I wouldn't lose faith in Mello and Trick yet, and I'll explain more about it when we get to Mello's match. But what I will say for now is that I feel like they might as well should have just kept the belt on Dom. And like part of me thinks that, but then with all the stuff going on with Trick and Carmelo, for the narrative, it kind of made sense for Trick to win, have a certain segment with a certain someone on Tuesday, and all that stuff, and mention how he lost his title. Judgment Day wasn't there on Saturday, which is a good indicator to how Trick was able to get that win. But all five of them were there on Tuesday. But notice something about Mello. Mello said he would be there for his friend, and he wasn't. He was too occupied getting John Cena as a manager. So we could talk shit about Judgment Day all we want, but the true person I'm looking at is Carmelo Hayes. Where the fuck were you for your boy?
Yeah, it is a true statement there. It was weird to see that too, that happened. So let's move on to the next match, which is, I would say, a really fun match to watch. NXT Championship match, a actually a fatal four-way match. The Family, who is the champions, Creed Brothers, Los Los Rodadores, which is the Roberto Carrillo and Angel Garza team, and an OTM or Out of the Mud. This was an interesting match, very fun. The entrances were interesting. I like the entrances are actually kind of interesting. OTM's entrance was just way too funny to me. Going in like freaking bicycles, freaking low riding bicycles were like way too funny for those two gigantic guys. I mean, it was very funny, but it was very good match too. Very chaotic, but it had a lot of good moments, showing that it was very good possibility that Creed Brothers could win, or OTM to win, or the other team, or Humberto and Angel match. It was very hard to see who could actually win. Very hard to predict it, but it was actually very fun. There was a lot of crazy crap happening. It was really interesting. I liked it too. But in the end, the family won by their finisher. It was very funny. It was very good, and it was. I still say it was really good. I would like to see Creed Brothers win. Perfectly honest, I think Creed Brothers should win. It was very fun to see them in a match and almost win it, but not. So kind of sucks, but I think it's okay. Everyone loves the family in this moment in time, so I think it's perfectly fine. I think it's fun. So I give this an 8. A good match to watch.
And I don't understand NXT's obsession of not letting the Creed brothers win because they always come in clutch every single time. And also to the family, it's a stupid gimmick. It's not funny. It's cringe. Like people can hate on the Young Bucks all they want, but this is actual cringe. Like the family legit didn't do anything until like the last 10 minutes of the match when one of the members supposedly got a fake injury and just randomly showed up and performed his finisher, and then that was the end of the match. But I'm not gonna discredit for it. It was a lot of fun, and it's probably one of the best tag team matches I've seen from NXT so far. Well, I guess not in the past, I should say. Currently, present. Jesus. So it was really decent. I really enjoyed it. Good chemistry all around. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10 too.
A lot of these teams, man, I'd say all these teams cooked.
Yeah.
The only team I wasn't feeling was Out the Mud. Was I the only one that thought they were kind of stupid? Just I want y'all to answer that for me real quick
Uh,
before I
They were
continue.
uh,
they were stupid to me.
how can you say that when they had the hardest entrance with the bikes they didn't know how to ride? That shit were hard.
I knew, no, that's what I mean. I knew from that moment, I was like, oh, these guys are gonna suck.
But it went hard, Daniel. It went super hard.
And then Los Lotharios, I mean, yeah, they did their thing for this match, you know. And then the family had some nice spots as well. But yeah, the Creeds were definitely the MVPs of this match. Those two are just honestly such a great tag team that it's kind of, again, like Chris said, I don't get why they aren't just putting the belts on these two. Like, they're obviously in a league way higher than every other team in that in that brand right now. Like, the Creeds really should be holding those belts, but whatever. I guess people like the family, they're over. And I will admit the family do have potential, and I do get why they put the belts on them. And there is fun to the team. But yeah, I just feel like it wasn't the right call to have them retain here. And I think the Creeds could have gotten this win. But here's what I'll say. I thought this was a damn fun match. And again, even though I wasn't really crazy about Out the Mud, they did their thing too. So everyone really came to cook in the kitchen. And there weren't too many cooks in the kitchen to where it felt disastrous. It was a very good match. Overall, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, good match. Now let's get on to a match that I was not happy with, and it was the NXT Heritage Cup Championship match. Noam Dar versus Pete Dunne or Butch. Well, first thing first, I loved the Heritage Cup matches in NXT UK. They were so amazing. Pretty much every single match was amazing, except maybe two of them at least. But every single one of them was awesome. This one really let me down. I expected a lot because these two were from NXT UK, pretty much, but they didn't show anything that it was really weird. Like so many interferences, which Heritage Cup matches never had in NXT UK, really barely had any interferences. But this many didn't feel like a match that like this kind of circumstances of the match. So I was pissed off on that point. So I was like, too many interferences, and then Tyler Bay was not doing crap until the end of the match where he attacked his Norm Dar's running mate. And I was like, why do they do this? And it made no sense. And why they and like the hair and even the ref and even the ref was looking at them like, can you please kick him out or something? Like, let one of them stay, the other ones go. Like, he was not doing shit. Like the referee was not like looking at them cheat, but not doing crap. So it was pissing me off a lot. But even if the match was fun, it was just a weird shit that's happened around the ring that kind of made me annoyed. But it was still kind of fun. It pissed me off that at the end of the match, at the end, uh, the Gallus interfered in the match, attacked Tyler Bate, and Butch got hit with the best of the bells by Joe Coffey. And it was mainly because Butch won against Joe Coffey. He got pissed off, so he wanted to attack him, which it's annoying because I'm so sorry that Pete Dunne should have won that match completely. That Pete Dunne would hold that title with the best prestige in the world. He's probably one of the best match person people in the world with with that type of match, I would say. But even if this match was good, it was really fun, but it had some weird things that I really didn't like. I was kind of mad about this, but I still had fun with the match because it was inside the ring. Was very fun. So I'm gonna give this a 7.5 for me.
And I'm with you, Berman, too, because the main issue I had with the Heritage Cup rules was just the fact that it was obviously that Noam Dar was cheating throughout the whole match, and it's supposed to be something like highly prestige or whatever. But dude, the referee saw his stupid team interfering so many goddamn times, and the ref refused to do anything. And what pissed me off the most is that Pete Dunne's guy in the corner did absolutely nothing. The only thing he did was just took a super kick from that lady, and it cost him the match. So what was the whole point of building up this match if you're just gonna have Noam Dar win by cheating? And I get he's a heel and you have to do what you got to do for the Heritage Cup, but for something that's considered kind of prestigious for this kind of like title, it's stupid. So it's a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I agree with what you guys have to say for the most part, and but this is what I will say. I do feel like if they were going to book Noam Dar to beat Pete Dunne, this was the only possible way that it would have been believable. Like, let's just be fair here. Pete Dunne is a far more vicious striker. He's far more vicious in the ring. He's more accomplished as an act. The only way Noam Dar was even going to get by is, yeah, if he had all of Metaphor and then plus other people. And yeah, Gallus were the other people here. I will say, I do think it's a bit underwhelming, but I thought it was a really good match. And yeah, Berman's right. There have been far better Heritage Cup matches in the past. But yeah, overall, I'm going to give this a 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah, and now we get to probably the best NXT match of the year. NXT Championship match, Carmelo Hayes versus Ilya Dragunov 2. Now, this was a barn burner. It was amazing. It was a banger. It was everything you can expect from a 10 out of 10 match. It had so many great moments. Like the first few minutes, Ilya was just dominating, just berserk. I'm gonna say a berserking. Carmelo Hayes not letting him do crap. The chops that Ilya can do are brutal. Like same to close to freaking Walters type of chops, man. It was so like it was going crazy, and then like the other half then goes to Carmelo going to crazy, using crazy stuff from the outside, doing the suplex cutter finish. I can't remember the name they use it, how he uses it. The suplex cutter finish on the outside, which kind of looked a little off, but it was really good too. And like trying so many things in this match worked so well. And the main thing that made me really happy was that Trick Williams not outside. So it was a pure singles match. No one's there, with just both of them going out hard, and it was great to see. There was the H bombs finishers from Ilya Dragunov, one regular where he kind of countered one of his Carmelo moves hits, and then it just hit him with a freaking H bomb right to the neck. Then he said, "Well, he didn't finish him off. Let's go for a second rope H bomb right on the neck again." It still kicked out, and it was incredible to see. Then the last uh, a few minutes was the exciting part where this whole thing happened. Carmelo threw him in the ring, went for the nothing but net leg drop, and freaking Ilya Dragunov just clotheslined the hell out of him, blasted him, and then went off for the top rope H bomb. Just destroyed that. That looked amazing too. That move, and it was a great match. Ended with Ilya Dragunov winning the NXT Championship. The Czar has his reign in NXT, and I'm so happy. NXT Ilya is one of my favorites, so and I'm so happy to see that NXT using him the right way, him as NXT champion. So it's very interesting. I was really happy to see that. This match definitely is a 10 out of 10 best match of the year for NXT.
Absolutely, because the first match was great, but I think we gave it like almost like a 9.5. But this was just like an excellent like rematch between the two, and I'm so happy that Elon Dragunov finally won. But I got kind of scared too because with his finisher, it took him like 3 attempts, and it was some Roman Reigns shit where they're basically protecting Carmelo, and I was just like, oh god damn it, we're not gonna, Elo's never gonna get his moment. But luckily he did. I'm glad they chose the correct champion. This match is awesome, so I'll give it a 10 out of 10 too. Probably one of the best matches, probably of the year, if I'm being quite honest, with the technicality and just the storytelling and all this amazing shit. It's pretty awesome.
You see, People can kick you out of finishers over and over again, like that Roman Reigns thing you mentioned, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
I think this here is when it's done perfectly because it's telling the story of how, like, Ilya, when you look at the first match, while Ilya was aggressive with, like, how Berman pointed out, he just jumped Carmelo as soon as the bell rung. He knew he couldn't make a single slip this time against Carmelo. And Carmelo was, like, fighting with every single thing he had in him. And, it's like, what's a good analogy here? It's hard to explain, but, it's like you have to kill this thing, right? And you're shooting it over and over and over again, but it's just not going down until it eventually just does. And that was Carmelo. He got hit with shot after shot after shot, and he kept getting back, and he kept getting back up from all of them until he just couldn't anymore. And that was the phenomenal story of this match. And yeah, you are correct, Chris. We all gave the first match a 9.5 out of 10. And a lot of people believe the first match was a 10 out of 10. But to tell you the truth, I felt like they still could have had a better match. A match on the caliber of this second match right here. I think this was better than the first match. And as fantastic as the first match was, this is just an absolute masterpiece. And then, you could, as soon as Carmelo, got up from the mat, you could see it in his face. You could feel like you knew, like he knew his time was done as NXT champion. And yeah, with how, like I said, he got a bit upset with Trick leaving his side. And then think about it like this. Trick leaving his side, that led to Trick winning the North American title, the title Melo used to have, on the same night Melo lost his NXT title. So for Melo, when you ultimately think about it all, Trick was doing all good without him. And he brings up the idea of being in Trick's corner. And the one time Trick actually needed him, it was this Tuesday. He wasn't there. More and more of this story, the story is very simple here. The story is about revealing that Carmelo is narcissistic. And if anything, over the years, he might have been using Trick rather than having him as a best friend. And I think that's what we're getting here. But yeah, that overall 10 out of 10, without a doubt. Ilya definitely deserved this moment. And the final question I'm going to ask to Berman, he was the man to beat Walter for the UK title. What moment's bigger? Him winning the UK title or him winning the real deal NXT title in Bakersfield against Melo?
It's hard to say, but I'm probably going to do Carmelo because NXT UK was on his last leg, so I felt like it was a little off. It was pretty off for him winning that NXT title, but it was big for him too. But I think this NXT Championship match right here and winning that title boosted up to the stratosphere. He is right up to level with like Adam Cole winning that title, Johnny Gargano winning that title. He's up with the greats on NXT right there. So he's going to get bigger pushes when he goes to the main roster on Raw or SmackDown. He can do whatever, and this is going to boost him up to the stratosphere. I would say this match is the most important for him.
Interesting for sure. And back to Melo here, real quick. Do you know what makes him turning heel out of Trick and Melo obvious? The fact that we all know he's going to join Bobby Lashley in the Street Profits once he gets up to the main roster. That's been heavily rumored, and they're probably going to do that. They're probably going to go in that direction. So I don't expect Trick to be the one to turn. I 100% expect it to be Carmelo.
Yeah, I could see that too. It makes interesting thinking on that too. So I want to bring up something too that happened on last NXT for Ilya Dragunov, saying that he has now has a target on his head that Carmelo wants another title, not wants another chance. But the main one, who is probably going to be the first person to challenge Ilya for that title, is Baron Corbin. with everything, it seems like Baron Corbin versus Ilya Dragunov is going to happen for that title. I don't think Baron Corbin is going to win. I doubt that, but it's going to be a fun match. I do say that.
It's probably a filler match for Halloween Havoc. Yeah, I could see them doing that for Halloween Havoc. And then for Deadline, they'll probably run the third Mellow match, or they'll throw someone completely new at him, like like I said, Wesley, because
Or they do.
Oh wait, what?
I was thinking maybe they do a triple threat match versus do Trick Williams, Carmelo, and Ilya.
That would be interesting. I
That
definitely
could.
want West versus Ilya because of the whole, fact that West quit NXT, quote unquote, quit NXT, and it was because of his loss to Ilya.
I can see that. It'll be interesting to see that. Maybe they do that Deadline. I think I'm okay with that being a Deadline too. That sounds actually very fun, even if.
Yeah,
So
that's why I definitely think they're going down the Ilya West lane, and then I could see Mello Trick being like the semi-main event for like I could see those two being like a double main event sort of deal for Deadline. I realistically can see that, and then Mello versus Trick, obviously that just wouldn't be for a title; it would be a normal match.
yeah, very grudge match, but it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the main event, which it was interesting to think that this is the main event and not the Carmelo and Ilya Dragunov, but it was, I would say, worth because it was actually pretty fun. But first let's talk about the match. It's an Extreme Rules match, NXT Women's Championship, Becky Lynch, the man, versus the Barbie of NXT, Tiffany Stratton. This was a fun match, and Becky Lynch is the champion. If no one knows that, Becky Lynch is the champion of NXT, which is kind of weird to me. But this was it was actually a pretty fun match with everything. But I would say 2-3 parts that really were a little bit stupid or a little bit made no sense. One was someone's going to bring up two was Becky Lynch brings in Barbie dolls into the ring and places them on the mat so she can slam Tiffany on Barbies, which it makes sense that technically Tiffany Stratton refers to herself as a real life Barbie. So, but it makes no sense because it looks really stupid. Number one. Number two part of the match was when Becky Lynch went under the ring, didn't know what happened to it. Tiffany Stratton was looking for her. Then we see as soon as she pulls up the apron. Becky Lynch is there with a fire extinguisher trying to point it at her, but it took like more than a second, or maybe when I say a minute, to see the fire extinguisher shoot. It looked like it was like Tiffany Stratton just looking at her like, "Are you gonna do something yet? Or are you gonna do something?" Or like they were just staring at like a staring contest. And it was so off. It's like it looks like Becky Lynch was trying to open it, trying to do something, but she didn't pull the pin or something. And then Tiffany Stratton, for her sake, that she tried making it look worse, where she just started wailing her arms like freaking, just wailing her arms like she actually got hit. It didn't look like it to me. It looks kind of like a little bit of miss. But those are the only bad parts of the match. Everything else very fun, very crazy too. Like there was so many weapons used, trash cans, uh, stairs, chairs, kendo sticks, championships, Barbies, tables. It was chaotic with how many things were happening. There were some very fun parts too. The main part I really liked was when it it was Tiffany Stratton was on a table. She pushed Becky Lynch onto a uh, was it like a chair, and then went a senton, senton onto that chair, broke a barricade. Before that too, she she tackled her into another barricade on the other side of the barricade, then finished the job with the senton. Put Becky Lynch on the table, went for a second senton off the top rope to the ground to the table on the outside. That was insane. And then pushed her back in again, went for the top rope again, and went for another senton. And I thought that was the finishing blow right there. Three sentons through three different things. But they did not. It was a really insane kick out. I actually thought Tiffany Stratton was going to win right there. But it was very interesting too. It was very fun things to see. And but in the end, the end was Becky Lynch hitting the manhandle slam on a pile of chairs and winning the championship. It's like the retaining the championship, Becky Lynch, and this was interesting. And I know that the next opponent for Becky Lynch Valkyria, and I'm not that happy. I love Valkyria, but I don't like her finisher. Her finisher sucks. I love Valkyria, I just hate her finisher right now. But this match was very fun, even if this was a very good Extreme Rules match too. It was just a really weird, finicky things that were happening that made no sense. Like just weird things that was stupid. But I still say it was fun, so I give it this an
I mean, yeah, I understand why they made this the main event just because Becky Lynch is the main draw or whatever. But I, okay, first I guess we should compliment that they did go extreme. They did show blood, which is kind of cool. I like how WWE is like doing that more and more often, especially when it comes to more important matches. But I wouldn't. It's not that it was bad, but there were just like way too many botches, especially like you mentioned before of the fire extinguisher, and there's also the first 5 minutes where Becky Lynch tried to put on that fire helmet and like just dropped it twice, and even Booker T made a joke about it or two. And it was just too many things that seemed kind of sloppy. Like it was fine for what it is. It was cool, but I've seen better Extreme Rules matches. But I say it's enjoyable, so I'll just overall give it like a 6 out of 10. It was above average, but I wasn't that impressed with it. But good for Tiffany, and it's cool that Becky Lynch is bringing more and more stuff into NXT. But I feel like the main reason why they're kind of doing this is just for the fact that AEW is kind of like bringing their main roster to Ring of Honor to kind of make the show more watchable for like more general audiences to kind of bring in more people to it. So maybe that's why they're kind of doing this
Oh,
too.
Chris, I can actually explain it.
Yo.
So in 2019, USA Network signed a 5-year contract for NXT, and basically that's a good reason as to why ever since you notice how it's been like ever since around March or April, that's when they started to like bring in more main roster talent into NXT.
Yeah.
It's been a strategy to increase viewership on NXT, and believe it or not, it's actually worked. And it's actually gained NXT right now is actually getting more viewership than Dynamite. I'm not joking.
Really? For how much?
Like 100,000 average. Like because AEW Dynamite this week even it pulled 800,000, but NXT pulled 857,000. And that doesn't even mention the fact that next week they're going to have John Cena, Cody Rhodes, Asuka, Paul Heyman, and now on social media, The Undertaker is returning this Tuesday on NXT.
Jesus Christ.
So, yeah, The Undertaker returning to NXT of all places. What a timeline we're living in. But yeah, that's just one question. You know what? Let me ask you guys that before I even talk about this match. How do you guys feel about them using Cena, Rhodes, and Taker next week?
It makes no sense to me. Like, okay, it makes sense maybe Cody because Cody is the son of Dusty Rhodes, so it kind of makes somewhat sense.
Dusty Classic. Yep.
So it makes somewhat sense. John Cena. It makes somewhat sense because I think he likes a lot of younger talent. It makes somewhat sense. But Undertaker makes no sense whatsoever because I don't feel like he has any connection to NXT except maybe a few characters for maybe a few stars that he likes. But it makes no sense for Undertaker for anyone, mainly Undertaker, to be there. Like it makes sense to be Undertaker be on SmackDown because he is a SmackDown guy, but not on NXT. That makes no sense to see NXT Undertaker there.
I do know another actual reason. So you know how there's Title Tuesday going on this Tuesday?
Oh yeah.
It's airing the same exact time as NXT, which is, and they actually want to not just beat Dynamite because it's Edge's debut. They clearly want to destroy it, which is why they're bringing in all the big guns.
Bastards. They're just haters. That's why.
No, yeah, this is maximum hater energy. I kind of respect it though. I can't lie.
Watch CM Punk show up too next week.
Dude, I would laugh my ass off at that rate. Jesus Christ. But yeah, okay, now this match. I could get more into Tuesday NXT next week than this match because that's just going to be a crazy show. But this match was fun. It was a very fun match. It was actually a great match if I'm being honest. I do have a problem with the stuff they did with the dolls. I thought that was kind of dumb. And I did think the stuff Becky tried to do with the helmet. Yeah, I know it was kind of a botch, but yeah, it just did not look good, even when she did connect it. So yeah, I'm gonna give the match an 8 out of 10. Tiffany looked pretty strong in the match. I will say it actually kind of caught me off guard whenever she kicked out of the manhandle slam because barely anyone kicks out of that. So I'm actually was surprised to see Tiffany kick out of that. But I actually didn't have a problem with that. It was a good way to make her look very strong in defeat. And this is basically saying she's only 24 years old right now. Can you imagine in like 3 to 5 years, she's probably going to be one of the women's champions on Raw or SmackDown? So y'all better get prepared for that, whether y'all like her or not. That's all I can really leave it at. They clearly have big plans for her. And having her main event a pay-per-view with Becky Lynch is even more evidence to that. So, yeah, I do think Mello versus Ilya would have made more sense as the main event because it just was perfect. But I guess since Becky is the draw of this card, that's probably the reason they gave her the main event. And I kind of can't blame them because it's like if y'all are going to have Becky go all the way down to NXT, you might as well make her main event the damn pay-per-views. So yeah, I guess it's fair. Overall, I'm going to give the match an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, so for the general uh, rating for this whole entire show, I say it was very fun. It had weird things, but it was just not. It was nothing to ruin the show. It was just something that doesn't really impact it, but it kind of makes it just weird. But I think still this was a great show, a great NXT. So I give this an 8, a very fun, very good pay per view for NXT.
And I'll give it a 7.5. I really liked it, but again, Great American Bash is still my favorite pay per view for NXT, but it's still very good.
And I am going to give an 8 out of 10. I thought this was yet another very good NXT pay-per-view.
Well, thank you guys for watching. My name has been Berman,
Chris,
And Daniel,
and we see you guys in the next review. That will be the Wrestle Dream for AEW.